Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We are coming at you on July 7th, 2021. Somehow managing to stay on our feet after almost 6 months of a Biden administration. It just seems to be hitting all the wrong notes. But and we've just passed Independence Day as well. But before we get into any of the news of the day, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer from the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. My name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. What's that word? Did word want to come in there? It sounded like you were trying to say something. Or... Oh, no. Okay, never mind. No. I saw you leaning forward. I thought you... No. I thought you were doing a Biden on us where you lean toward the camera and whisper. It's some kind of a creepy, way.
Yeah, maybe Biden is getting to me, so I'm trying to be as creepy as he is.
Yeah. Well, as creepy as he is, this show, we're actually probably not going to have anything directly on him unless it indirectly ties to him. We're going to focus on sports on this show and some of the crazy things that are going on right now. Maybe not so crazy, but just interesting from a liberty perspective. So the first item we wanted to talk about today was that the Supreme Court, about a few weeks ago, recently made a ruling on the NCAA. That's the National College Athletic Association, I think. Yes. And essentially they have sort of authority they've given themselves, and that's kind of what's in question over all these college athletes, over setting rules and the idea that they have to be amateurs. And so the Supreme Court actually took issue with that. There's a lot of college students who are out there who I guess are big money makers for their colleges, and they are saying, hey, why is it that we don't get to make anything, but maybe some of the coaches are making millions and schools might be pulling in some big money and we're not able to make anything? And so the Supreme Court came down and said, yeah, this is a problem. And they actually questioned whether or not the NCAA has this authority. And so they peeled back at least part of it, and I think they've sort of invited a case that can peel off the rest of it. And so the NCAA, this could be a sort of game changer for college sports, because now suddenly schools can offer, I guess, actual money or other benefits to students.
They can offer cash or in kind or the equivalent.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is a real game changer, because now suddenly it sort of pulls the facade off of this. And I kind of have some mixed feelings in both directions about this, but let me open it up to you guys. What do you guys think about this?
Well, I mean, I have a little problem here, but I'm like you, Jason. I have mixed feelings about this, because these are supposed to be student athletes. These universities, especially Division I schools, have spent too much time on this. Many to the pros. Many of them end up with nothing at the end of their college career. But on the other hand, on the other side of this coin, is that these universities are making millions and millions of dollars off of the name and the image and the likeness of these students. And given the fact that I'm a firm believer in the free enterprise system, and I believe in people working hard and getting their fair due as a result of their hard work, I do not see why the NCAA, or especially these Division I schools, should be able to make millions of dollars off of these athletes and don't share it in some way with them. Now, should that be in actual cash? I don't know. But certainly in some form of scholarships that will allow them to finish up their education, even if they get through that initial 4 years, but after that they probably will need to go on to a graduate school or even finish up an undergraduate degree or some sort of training that they can make them into productive citizens, because many of them end up not being productive citizens. They end up without a college degree, without a professional career, and they end up with nothing after spending 4 years at one of these major universities. So I think there must be some mechanism of compensating these students, these people, if this is the system we're going to live with. Because I don't like the system, because I think there's too much emphasis on the athlete rather than on the student. So there must be some mechanism by which you can share the revenues. So overall, I do support the Supreme Court's ruling.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's a good ruling. My first question is, if they get paid in cash, they have to pay tax on that. But what about this cash equivalent stuff? Would they have to pay taxes on a cash equivalent, like a scholarship or something? Because maybe I need to be paid cash equivalent for my piloting services in the future. I don't know. Maybe a house and a car and stuff like that. Never mind. Anyway, I think it's a good ruling, step in the right direction anyway, and it'll probably be some conflagration or some combination of various things that the two of you have been talking about, which sounds good to me.
Sure, indeed.
You know, the one area I could see where maybe a school should be able to constrain, I guess, the athlete a little more is if they're not adults, maybe, you know. But in this case, we're talking about the NCAA. I mean, these are actually adults. I just seems silly that they think they should have sort of this, I guess, idea like they're the parent or something looking out for these guys and saying. Another thing I have a problem with all of this too is that a lot of school athletics are almost a facade, you know, by tying them to the college, as though it's related to education. And in a lot of cases, it's not. You know, a lot of times there's been so many scandals with football teams and others where they'll literally just bend and break every rule in order to make somebody eligible to play. And it's just kind of a facade. So, you know, if these were private institutions, I don't think I'd have a problem with it. But there's so much tie-in with government, with all the government funding and everything else of these colleges, and a lot of them are state schools. And just the idea that they're setting up this kind of almost like a cartel or something.
I don't know. Getting to your point, Jason, about the facade of an education going on at these institutions. I don't know if you remember who Lawrence Taylor was.
Okay. Yeah.
He went to Oklahoma State.
Linebacker. Was it linebacker or defensive end? I can't remember.
I think it was a linebacker, but a very good one too. A very good one.
Yeah.
Well, he went to Oklahoma State University, which is was a rival of my alma mater, the University of Oklahoma. But by the time Lawrence Taylor supposedly left there after 4 years, he made it to the pros. He was very good in the pros and that kind of stuff. Years after, he admitted he left Oklahoma State University and could not read. Now, how the hell did this guy get to college? So, you know, this getting back to your issue of the facade of education, and this is my problem with all of this. There's too much focus on the athlete rather than on the student. I mean, I think sports is a good thing. In the environment of a university, it's a good thing. I'm not going to tear it down. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I think these Division I schools spend too much time focusing on the athlete rather than the student. I don't know how you could get out of a university, of an American university, and then years later you have to be admitting. But he did this in front of Congress, actually, admitting that he could not read. I mean, Jesus Lord, that to me is tells you the full story about what is passing for education for athletes in these schools.
Well, I have a personal anecdote on this too. I was on a college sports team. I was on a college football team for 1 year, and
you were on a college football team.
Yes, I was
seriously
a junior college football team.
Okay.
And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because, you know, you hear about this kind of stuff at Division I, and you know, these schools that have all this money pouring into them. Well, community college doesn't have any money pouring into it, and yet the competition is so fierce that you see this kind of, sort of fudging happening, even at a community college level. And I remember I was taking an interpersonal communications class, and this was one of them that I didn't go there because I was on the football team at that point. But that's sort of how I connected with some of them. But there were all these football players who were taking the class, and they were all sitting on one end of the class. And there was a lot of people in that class who it was an interpersonal communication class, a speech class. It satisfied speech requirements. There were some of them I never heard speak a word of English in the class. And all the football players were all sitting on one side. And when the teacher would walk out during a test, out would come, a little thing of answers. And, and this was for a class that, like I said, literally was for a communications class where some people I'd never even heard speak in the class. So I mean, that's if that can happen at a community college level, imagine what happens at a
Division One school. Sure,
exactly,
yes.
where there's real stakes on the line, other than just the what's there for the players and the coaches.
And what also happens is another corruption that the Supreme Court didn't address this, and we never spoke about. But what happens is some of these wealthy supporters of the university, whether it is Oklahoma or Oklahoma State or whatever it is, some of these wealthy supporters do give gifts and money and cars and all kind of stuff to some of the athletes going to the university. And that's a little quiet thing that go on in the background. Sometimes the NCAA will pick up on it and they will make us think about it and that kind of stuff. There are a few very famous cases of that. But this thing go on in the background. So let's bring it to the surface. Okay, let's bring it out in the open. Let's do something, some mechanism whereby the athlete can gain something from the use of his name, his image, and his likeness and that kind of stuff. Let's bring it in the open. This underground corrupting, I say no to that. I really do.
Well, and we can laugh about some of these stories, but when you talk about somebody like LT or the LTs that didn't make it to the NFL,
exactly,
those guys, and they literally wasted all of these years of the years they should have been building up their human capital to go out and get a productive job. And they're literally coming out with this fraudulent education where they can't even, like I said, read or just solve basic problems.
Exactly.
I really think that part of the facade just has to end. But anyway.
Another thing that happens also that is well known also is that sometimes these guys, they get injured, career-ending injuries in their college years. What happened to them then? Or early even if they do make it professionally, there's one well-known case, Marcus Dupree, who went to the University of Oklahoma, first year, or maybe it might be second year out of school, busted up his knee. His career was done. The last thing I heard about Marcus Dupree is driving a truck somewhere in Louisiana and somewhere in that part of the country. This is the kind of things that happens.
Well, maybe if he could have made some money that first year, that might have helped out a little.
Yeah,
sorry, Jim. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to put a fly in the ointment, and with the fact that there's significant percentage of these, even after going through the pros and having a stellar multi-million-dollar career, these significant percentage end up penniless after they leave. So there's no guarantee that even if they do get paid, that these guys are going to be able to save it and use it to increase their human capital later on, and so on and so forth. So maybe instead of communication class, they ought to go into a personal finance class and be forced to actually study and do the test with someone looking directly over them 100% of the time to make sure they don't cheat, so that when they do leave with their money they make from the NCAA football team that they belong to, that they can actually utilize that in a productive way to increase their human capital and so on. Or, I really like the cash equivalent idea to, to be serious about it. a way of giving them future ability to attend trade school, you become a plumber, become a carpenter, become a mechanic, become a scientist, or anything else that they want to become, a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian chief. But, some methodology whereby if they don't make it into the pros, if they get injured, if they blah, 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 then they'll have something to fall back on for some kind of future. You pay them cash and they're 21 years old.
They're going to blow it.
They're going to blow it. Okay.
Yes.
And that percentage, I mean, I'm talking about people in their 30s, 40s, probably no more than that are blowing millions of dollars. If they can do it, you're darn sure that a 22-year-old or 23-year-old graduating from college, so-called graduating or leaving college, can blow money like a drunken sailor.
Can blow money on blow. Literally blow it.
Yeah, because I mean, this is top-down central planning, and I'm not good at it. Okay, and I don't like it. But nonetheless, if I was going to centrally plan the future of a 22-year-old that didn't make it into the majors and had been playing football all this time, I would have accrued a bunch of money set aside to utilize for an education, a trade, something like that. I mean, that kind of appeals to me in a better way. You pay him cash, it's gone. It's adios. It's up his nose. It's down a little lower. It's somewhere else. It's in the pockets of all his buddies.
Yeah.
And so there you have it.
Well, speaking of just blowing things, I want to move on to our next story here. And Liam, could you pull that image up? Essentially, the Olympics. Unfortunately, the drug war has sort of killed the dreams of an Olympian here. And it's a gal's name is Sha'Carri Richardson, and she was looking to be a favorite to win gold at Tokyo for the United States, and turned out that she had done a little bit of marijuana. So not quite blow as in the last story, but still, it's caused her to blow this opportunity of going. Well,
there's always the term "suck."
Yeah, yeah. But as far as things go, I mean, holy crap! I mean, this is the once again the horrors of the drug war. Here this gal is, a great runner. She's at the beginning of her career. Yeah, she must be an adult at this point, just coming out of school. And here she is, the drug war. She does something that is literally on par with the alcohol that's being sold in these stadiums. And that, we're just going to toss her life aside, on a garbage pile, all for, this horrific war on drugs. And the crazy thing is, it wasn't even a performance enhancing drug.
Sure.
So, I mean, it wasn't even like she was cheating like some. She literally, and my understanding is she did the marijuana, she says, because her mother passed away about a month before the games that she was competing in. And that was one of the ways she dealt with her, I guess, anxiety of that. So anyways, you guys have any thoughts on this tragic story?
Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead.
Okay. Hold that thought. Yeah. You can say, okay, she knew the rules and she knew that that would disqualify her. Okay. No, so there you are. And the rules can be made. They can make aspirin illegal if they wish. Okay. They can come down as hard as they want, as stupid as it may be, especially regarding a plant, that grows naturally. Not even, I mean, aspirin, you got to manufacture that. So, and aspirin could be more of a performance-enhancing drug than marijuana, as they have determined, because you lose, you have a little pain control with aspirin at least. Okay, so, but nonetheless, she knew the rules. But in my humble opinion, the rules need to be changed, and this is a tragic thing. And again, the Olympic Committee can make as many stupid, idiotic rules to rule out and leave out people that are really the best. You really want to, okay, so Olympic Committee, newsflash. Do you really want to see who's the best in the world at whatever it is they're competing in? You really want to do that? Then yes, performance enhancing drugs should be illegal for sure, because you don't want to see who's the best, jazzed up on drug athlete. You want to see who's the best athlete without drugs. Okay, and marijuana is not the performance enhancing drugs that I'm talking about here. So get a clue and allow people like this lady to enter it, and don't make such a big to-do about a plant that grows naturally put there by God Almighty himself.
Okay. Now I don't believe her story that she only did this because of the death of her mother. Okay, I sympathize.
I don't either. I don't believe that one minute.
I feel sorry about the loss of her mother, but I certainly don't believe that story.
Yeah.
However, but like I think Tim kind of covered the points, but I think I'm two minds of this. On one hand, as a libertarian, I don't see why an adult can't use marijuana if they so choose. Okay, she's an adult. I mean, she want to use marijuana. I think people use marijuana kind of stupid, but that's just me. But as an adult, she should be able to do so. However, you get back to what Tim said. She knew the rules going in. And if you know the rules, and the rules say you can be disqualified for this, well, we have to live by those rules until the rules are changed. Mm-hmm. So I
guess, but keep in mind, though, that at some point, slavery were the rules, and some of these other things were Jim Crow was the rules. And to be honest, if somebody broke a Jim Crow rule, I'm going to applaud them. I'm not going to say, hey, let's ruin your life because you broke the rules and you knew what they were. So.
But Jason,
yeah.
Okay, fine. You're right. Slavery was legal. Jim Crow was legal. They were all horrible systems and all that kind of stuff. And we celebrate some of the people who fought against those things. We we celebrate them now for fighting against it then. However, at the time, people's lives were ruined for breaking those rules. Seriously. Yep, if, for instance, look at the Underground Railroad, which was a real good network of people who helped slaves escape the South. If some of those people were caught, most of them were white, actually, the people, their homes and all that kind of stuff, most of them were white. If some of those people were caught, they'll be imprisoned. Some of them might have been lynched. All kinds of stuff would have happened to them for breaking the rules. Okay? Yeah. So I accept your point. But if you break the rules, you have to pay the price. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but Jason, I'm going to beat up on you too. That's comparing apples to oranges.
Yes.
I don't think so, because ultimately this goes back to what it means to be a libertarian. Do you own your own body or not? And she was putting something in. It was not at all. No.
Now here's the thing. If first of all, last I checked, being on the Olympic team was not a right that everyone got. No, it's a privilege. You have to earn, and you have to earn hard. You got to do hard work to make it on that team. And if that includes, forsaking marijuana, I'm sorry, you're going to have to do it. I don't agree that it's a rule. That doesn't matter. It is still the rule, and it was a private entity that did it. Okay, so that does not compare to being a slave where you lose your freedom or the loss of the ability to vote.
That does bring up a good question, though. Is the Olympic Committee a private organization, or is it tied to the government in some way? Because if it's completely independent of the government, then I would agree with you. I mean, they're a private organization. Well,
it is a private organization, but it's funded by many state governments and the federal government too. It's funded.
And that's the point is, once this becomes a government entity, at that point, when they start making, what if they said, oh, you cannot be a Muslim and be on the Olympic team, or you cannot, hey, that's the rule we made. I think this is, what you can put in your own body that's not harming anybody else, to me, that's as fundamental as any religious belief that you want to have to your humanity. So, to me,
grasping at straws there.
I don't think so. I think that's the fundamental part of being a libertarian is that you
okay.
come down to your property right in your own body.
Okay,
And if the government has...
We're out of time.
Yeah,
But
sure.
as a pilot, I work for a private company, but we have to abide by federal rules. Those are coming from the government. And one of those rules says we should not be flying under the influence of marijuana.
But that impacts your job. Her taking marijuana does not impact her running.
No, you can't say that. No,
it's a job.
It doesn't impact it in a way that helps her to win, right? In an unfair way. So if she takes it, and then she most likely, if it's hurting her, she's not going to make the team because she won't perform well. She's blowing past the competition. So I mean, whatever she's doing is working, right? Right? I mean, if you're taking marijuana, that's probably not helping your flying.
No, it wouldn't be. It would, but that's what they're saying. The same thing. They're saying it's not performance enhancing. In fact, it reduces performance of her. And in spite of that, not because of it, but in spite of the marijuana use, she still blows by the competition. Imagine what she would be like if she didn't smoke.
If she didn't use it, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here's the thing. Once again, my job is not a right. I do not have a right to my job. I have the right to apply for it, but I have to earn that job by, all the things all the hoops I had to go through. So it's a privilege that I have this job. And if they tell me you can't be smoking wacky tobacco, then I'm not going to smoke wacky tobacco. That's just it.
Well, I would agree with you. A private job, absolutely. Unfortunately,
Same thing.
we're kind of flown past our knucklehead noise patrol.
Yeah, we are.
You know what? Let's jump into our one last topic before we get into this. On the same item, let me jump into another image here really quick. Well, actually, we won't even go to the image. The idea was that there are also transgender athletes now as part of Team USA, and they literally have testosterone levels that are way above the other women. And yet that's okay, but the marijuana is not okay, apparently. But what do you guys think about that? I mean, is that okay for somebody to to compete against women when they just have levels that they'd have to be taking ridiculous amounts of drugs to get to?
I do not believe transgender women should be participating in female sports. I really don't believe this because it's unfair. Okay, men are biological boys are faster, stronger, and taller. They have a natural advantage over these women, and I think it's totally unfair to women to have them participating in their sports. Please, Tim, go ahead. I'm sorry, I don't want to take.
Yeah, we're up against the clock, and I agree. Okay, so let's have a separate thing. They've got male, female, and transgender, and the transgender Olympics would have their own set of rules and a whole different thing. There you have it.
Okay. Well, in keeping with the rules, we're just about out of time. So in order to not get banned, I think we're going to call it at that. But thanks so much for joining us today. We hope to see you at the next one. Until then, stay free.
Stay free. Bye.